Well, hello and welcome to my channel, Mary Bourne, ND. And today we're going to talk about preserving wood finishes like cutting boards and girdles. So if you use wood, you actually want to protect the wood surface. It is not a good idea to put wood in the dishwasher. Wood is naturally antimicrobial. And there are lots of studies, and I'll link some in the description below, that show the benefits of using wood versus plastic. Now, a big concern that has recently come up, I would say in the last 4 or 5 years, is microplastics and finding microplastics actually in your body and where did they come from. And some of the conclusions are from using plastic cutting boards. And as you use a sharp knife, and it is the best practice to use a sharp knife, you actually cut away bits and pieces of that plastic. And as the food is rubbed over these bits and pieces of plastic, you are actually cooking them into the food that you're eating. So I've not used a plastic cutting board, I would say, in a good 5 years since I've learned about microplastics and the harm that it does. I have switched to using wood cutting boards, and I have a few, and I know that they need some kind of preservation, because as you use water in it, or you don't ever want to put something like this in your dishwasher, but you wash it, and sometimes you have to soak it just a little bit to keep off or get off some of the grime that's on there. And the wood has a tendency to split apart. So occasionally taking a fine, very fine sanding paper and just kind of brushing over the sandpaper, then taking a wet cloth and getting any kind of sawdust off of the product may be what you want to do before you do what I'm showing you to do. In the next video you see, I'm going to be making this coconut oil and beeswax combination oil. So we'll cut to that and then come right back to me. Okay, so we have our pot of boiling water and our makeshift double boiler, and we're going to put about a teaspoonful of this organic beeswax in the pot. We're also going to be putting coconut oil, because coconut oil is supposedly very, very good for maintaining wood surfaces, and it's something I wouldn't mind eating. This is by Thrive Market, so it's a good brand of coconut oil. And basically we just want to mix this together. Now, some of the studies that I've seen have shown that these two are not only antimicrobial, but very protective for wood, especially wood that you're going to be using for eating. So a lot of people have these wood spurtles, they're called, and after a bit of time they get rough from the using them in water, mixing them in water, washing them in water, It's not something you want to leave in water, but one of the studies that they showed was by protecting it with this coconut oil and beeswax, because the beeswax actually penetrates into the wood, will help to keep the wood connected. If you let wood in water too long, it actually tends to split. And then of course you don't want splinters in your wood. So we're going to be protecting our spurtles and other wood like cutting boards with this mixture. Now you can see it is melting down very nicely. If you don't have your water hot enough, the beeswax will take forever to melt down. Now the other thing I've heard is that keeping wood is naturally antimicrobial. And one of the things you want to do is to keep its natural antimicrobial activity, so to speak. There we go. I'm going to shut the heat off. We're all melted down. And what you want to do to keep the antimicrobial going is a combination, I like, a combination of orange oil and lemon oil. So we're going to just put 10 drops of the orange and 10 drops of the lemon. Okay, so now we could use this as it is. It's pretty hot, obviously, because it just came off of the heat, and I don't want to burn my fingers. So I'm going to wait until it's a little bit cooler and then use a rag. This rag will be specific for using on my wooden utensils. So we'll come back after this is cooled just a bit. Okay, so we're going to take this off of the heat and try very carefully not to add water. I got this wide tin because I'm going to be dipping a cloth into it to do the, so once that cools, it'll look a little more solid and then it'll be easier. But the idea, I'm going to mop up some of the, and put it on the spurtle. The thing is, when you use a mineral oil, which they say is food safe, and you're cooking with that, the mineral oil is actually going into your food. I personally don't want to eat mineral oil, but I don't mind eating coconut oil and beeswax. So, thank you for viewing. Okay, so making that oil takes just a few minutes. And generally speaking, except for orange oil, these are probably things you have in your own cupboard. So it's not going to cost you a great deal. Now, mineral oil doesn't cost very much. But as I've stated before, I don't want to be eating mineral oil. So I choose to do the coconut oil and beeswax combination. Now, I put it in a fairly wide tin just so I can get in there and do it. You don't necessarily have to use a very wide tin. I would not want you to use plastic because, again, we're trying to avoid plastic. The same thing with nylon. People have mentioned something about, well, what about nylon? Nylon is the same thing, but microplastics are the biggest concern right now. So the first board, this is a board my adult son made for me. He actually glued all of these different woods together and created this board. Now, the thing is it's a very thin board, which is great because if I want to pick something up and just go cut something, it's not heavy. Not like the first board that he made, and I'll show you that. So basically, I want to protect this board because I don't want the different types of boards separating. So I'm going to apply this. You can apply it, leave it sit for 24 hours, and then reapply it. If you see that it has soaked every bit of the oil in. Now, you do not have to be specific about the grain. You simply want to do a liberal supply of the oil that you just made. And you want to do both sides, but you can see how lovely the grain is now that you're bringing out. And because I put the orange and lemon oil, essential oil in here, it is maintaining some of that antimicrobial. So when I cut on this, I don't have to worry about transferring disease to what I'm cooking or what I'm making. Now, the one thing I noticed about this board is that it is splitting, and I don't want to ruin it. I want to maintain it and keep it. So I thought, maybe some of my viewers would be running into the same problem, and they too want to preserve their wood. Now, this is a board I got from Alaska, and you can probably see that it's indented. It's like a little bowl, and the knife that goes into it, it rocks back and forth. I'll put the name on the screen what this is. And I've had this maybe, I want to say, almost 10 years. And it is now starting to crack right here. And I love this board. It's the best board for chopping herbs. It's, you just rock that back and forth, and in no time, your herbs are all chopped up. So it's better than a food processor. So I'm just going to, it really doesn't take much time. The thing is that you want to leave it sit before you use this again. I'm going to leave it sit for 24 hours and let as much of that, because the wood is like porous right now, it wants to soak up all of this wonderful protection. So now I'm going to show you. This is the board my son originally made, and it fits. I have a sink that is a small sink and a bigger size sink, and this fits right over the small sink. And when I do tomatoes, the refuse bag goes right here. All the stuff that I don't want, the cores and all that, go right into that bag. So I can now protect this board, and I can do that off screen. But I just want to show you how wonderful this is for your wood surfaces. For spurtles, now I see a lot of people using spurtles, and I wonder if they know how to protect these beautiful pieces of equipment. No, you want to do both the handle and the spoon part, and just leave that set for, oh, I'm going to leave mine set for 24 hours before I use them again. And then if they feel like rough or like they need more, these shouldn't. But this, because I've never conditioned it at all, may need another coating. I'll see what it's like after it absorbs in. And then if I have some on my hands, I can just simply rub it in and make my hands feel good. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope it was beneficial. Um, and maybe you'll give it a try yourself. It's so easy to do. So this is Mary Bourne, ND. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you in the next one.